And we're back. I hope everyone had a wonderful new year. I haven't checked the stock market in a while, so let me just go ahead and do that. Well, I guess I'll see you guys in 2023. All kidding aside, the end of the year always comes with a lot of noise. Tax loss harvesting, quarter end and year end reporting, holiday obligations, New Year's resolutions and predictions for the year ahead, awards and retrospectives. All of these things are great at taking our eyes off the prize as investors. So in this episode, I wanted to share a clip about the metaverse from a year-end episode of one of my favorite podcasts, talk about what it got wrong, and follow up with some resources that we can keep an eye on to separate important information from the noise. If you're interested in learning more about the metaverse, its applications outside of video games, and which companies are really building its foundation, this episode is for you. Your time is valuable, so let's get right into it, starting with this clip from episode 60 of the All In Pod.
My worst trend was the metaverse. I think it's like the renaming of something that's been going on for a long time as if it's some new future thing. If anyone's played Fortnite over the last 6 years or 5 years, the metaverse has been here for a long time. And this notion that you can kind of take it and make it something that doesn't exist yet, and it's all about the future and make some stupid video about it, I think is a little bit lost in what's already been going on, which is people find value in digital goods. People find value in digital levels and badging, and they find honor and progress in their lives by accomplishing things in a digital universe. And they've been doing that from Minecraft to Fortnite to other places for a long time. And it's fascinating to watch. But the notion that we call this thing the metaverse and everyone's trying to reclassify it as some future singular universe, and therefore they can own that singular universe is a pretty misstated and misguided kind of concept.
If you don't know what the All In Pod is, it's one of the best podcasts out there for investing information and entertainment. It's funny, smart, uncensored, unmonetized, and pretty politically unbiased. It's basically a weekly hangout session and roundtable between Chamath Palihapitiya, Jason Calacanis, David Sachs, and David Friedberg, four guys who really know a lot about technology, money, and the markets. David Friedberg was the guy talking about the metaverse in that clip, and you actually saw the full clip. No one followed up on Friedberg's answer, not even Chamath, who spent 4 years working at Facebook, now Meta Platforms. I totally get it. It was just a silly end-of-the-year award episode. They had a lot of material they wanted to get through, and David Friedberg is a pretty busy guy. So it's not like he sat down and racked his brain over all the worst trends of 2021 only to pick the metaverse. Friedberg is actually my favorite person on that podcast, and I'm not here to badmouth him. What I am here to point out is that Friedberg is highly educated. He's highly in touch and up to date with technology, and he's highly successful. And he's still surprisingly wrong about the metaverse. The point I'm making here is if he's wrong about it, just imagine how wrong the average stock market analyst is, or even worse, the average investor. In the stock market, misunderstanding means opportunity. So this is my opportunity to help you understand what the metaverse is and point you to a few great resources, including an index fund that tracks its biggest contributors. Before that though, here's a simple definition of the metaverse just so we're all on the same page. The metaverse is the next generation of the mobile internet, which focuses on building a 3D, persistent, interconnected virtual universe. If that definition makes you cry harder than looking at your bloodbath of a portfolio, don't sweat it. Let's work through that definition together. The next generation of the mobile internet means the metaverse should be accessible from anywhere, not just computers and stationary video game consoles. Also, you don't need a virtual reality headset. A cell phone or a tablet should be able to access this digital universe. A 3D persistent virtual universe is exactly what it sounds like. Unlike web pages and images, which are two-dimensional, objects in the metaverse should have a sense of presence. They should have a sense of scale, depth, appear to be made of some material, react to lighting, appear to have weight, and so on. Instead of looking at the 3D graphics of a video game on a 2D monitor, you should be able to experience people and vehicles and bullets actually passing you by as they occupy the space around your avatar, which is your digital twin in this virtual universe. Those objects should also persist, even if you and everyone else around you looks away, leaves the scene, teleports to a different world, or logs off altogether. And by persistent, I don't just mean stored in memory, waiting for someone to log back in or pass it by in a virtual setting. Persistence means if it was an object in motion, it should stay in motion until it hits something, even if nothing is around to witness it. If it was a spaceship, it should continue to its destination, arrive, and then begin its mission, regardless if anyone is ever around to witness it. Persistence means the world keeps moving, because that's what the world does, not because somebody is there to watch it. That same persistence enables an economy driven by real humans, but also computer-driven non-human actors, just like we see in some video games today in the form of non-playable characters or NPCs. That means people will be able to have businesses in the metaverse just like they have in some video games today. They'll be able to create products and services, buy and sell assets, and do work that provides value to others even in the physical world. The metaverse also shouldn't have any limits on the number of users or how they can interact, meaning you should be able to carry data, digital items, assets, and content across services and experiences. That set of content and experiences can be created by a wide variety of contributors, from individuals all the way up to the biggest tech giants like Disney. Today, no three video games talk to each other, and everything requires its own login. So with that context, here's Friedberg's comment on the metaverse one more time.
My worst trend was the metaverse. I think it's like the renaming of something that's been going on for a long time, as if it's some new future thing. If anyone's played Fortnite over the last 6 years or 5 years, the metaverse has been here for a long time, and people find value in digital goods. People find value in digital levels and badging, and they find honor and progress in their lives by accomplishing things in a digital universe. And they've been doing that from Minecraft to Fortnite to other places for a long time. And it's fascinating to watch. But the notion that we call this thing the metaverse and everyone's trying to reclassify it as some future singular universe, and therefore they can own that singular universe is a pretty misstated and misguided kind of concept.
Today, your achievements in Fortnite and Minecraft stop at the boundaries of those experiences. In the metaverse, people will find value in playing Fortnite exactly because when you do earn digital goods and levels and rewards in that game, that value will be useful everywhere else. You can turn around and sell your rewards for tickets to entirely different experiences, or transport to exclusive planets, or just gain access to the content from the next Fortnite game when it comes out. If you're interested in learning even more about the metaverse, its applications outside of video games, and which companies are really building its foundation, here are a few great resources for you. The best resource is MatthewBall.vc. Matthew Ball is straight up the best person to follow on this topic, and he publishes essays on a wide variety of things ranging from content, services, and economies inside the metaverse to the hardware and software they'll be built on. Whether you're serious about one day making money inside the metaverse or through stocks of the companies building it, Matthew Ball needs to be on your list. I'll talk more about him in a minute. Another good resource you should put on your list is ARK Invest. One of ARK Invest's funds is ARKW, which is themed around the next generation of internet applications. It includes cloud computing, e-commerce, big data, social platforms, and even blockchain technologies, all of which are relevant building blocks to the metaverse. ARK publishes research on artificial intelligence, deep learning, the future of server architectures and data centers, and virtual worlds. And actually, those were the first topics of ARK Invest's 2021 Big Ideas report. Today's virtual worlds are independent of each other, but in the future, they could become interoperable, culminating in what futurists have deemed the metaverse. Again, David Friedberg is a super smart guy. I just think he's mistaking the metaverse for one of these virtual worlds. I'm excited to see if virtual worlds are featured again in ARK Invest's 2022 Big Ideas report, which comes out at the end of January. The third resource I want to point out is this channel, since I track many of the funds related to the metaverse and I read a lot of research on it. Last year, I published more than 50 videos on ARK Invest's research, not just their stock picks. I've also published around 10 videos focused specifically on investing in the metaverse and its underlying technology companies. So if you're an investor interested in understanding the state of the art at a high level, check out my most recent episode on the metaverse. I'll leave that in the top right-hand corner of your screen right now and in the description below as well. And if these episodes are adding value to your day, consider liking them and subscribing to the channel with all notifications turned on. That way you'll be the first to know when something new and exciting happens related to this topic. Okay, let's get back to Matthew Ball because there's one more resource that you should be aware of. You probably already know about the Roundhill Ball Metaverse ETF, ticker symbol META, which launched last summer. What you may not know is when it gets rebalanced and how. The fund is updated on the third Monday of March, June, September, and December of every year. Instead of being conviction weighted like ARKW, this index fund is rebalanced by the Ball Metaverse Research Partners, led by Matthew Ball himself. Upon each selection day, each company is ranked by the expert council as either a pure play, core, or non-core company for each category outlined in the Metaverse market map. Each company is given a score in each category based on how much of their business affects that part of the metaverse. Then there are some rules about how each company is scored in each category and how much each category can weigh in the fund. Think of it like this. The Metaverse Jedi Council gets together and scores every company based on how relatively awesome they are at metaverse-related hardware, computing, virtual platforms, and so on. Then they decide how important those same categories are to the metaverse overall, and how the holdings inside this index fund should be weighted as a result. If one company is too awesome in a given category, the extra awesomeness is divided among the rest of the companies in that category, according to how awesome they are at that same thing. Then the extra awesomeness is divided among the rest of the companies in that category according to how awesome they are at that same thing. If one category is too important, its excess importance is given to the other categories the same way. That means the top holdings in this fund are the most influential companies to the metaverse overall. If the metaverse becomes a reality, these same companies are the ones that stand to gain the most as a result. The fund just got rebalanced, so now is a great time to see what's in it. Will it be filled with video game companies like David Friedberg from the All In Pod would suggest, or filled with something else entirely? Here's what's in the Meta Fund right now. The biggest holdings are Nvidia, Meta Platforms, Roblox, Microsoft, Unity Software, Snapchat, Autodesk, Amazon, Apple, Taiwan Semiconductor, Sea Limited, and then Qualcomm. After that, the holding weights really start to drop off. Most of these top holdings make the hardware and software platforms for other companies to build on top of. For example, Nvidia builds servers and supercomputers, and also the chips that go into devices that connect to the metaverse, like computers and VR headsets. Also, through their Omniverse initiative, Nvidia is building virtual platforms for content creation and developing digital twins of physical assets. That's why it sits at the top. Many stocks are in this fund for more than one reason. They fit into multiple categories like hardware, computing components, networking, virtual platforms, data services, digital payments, and content creation platforms. Sea Limited is in here not just because of its Garena platform, which is their video game publishing and development unit, but also because of their digital payment solutions that spun out of Garena to become Shopee and Sea Money. If we count just the pure play video game companies, we get Roblox, Take-Two Interactive, Electronic Arts, Krafton Inc., and Activision Blizzard, just 5 out of 45 holdings. 6 if you want to count Unity Software, but I really believe that they do a lot more than just video games. Unity is an end-to-end 3D visualization engine, and their platform has been used to develop nearly 60% of all AR and VR content, including viral mobile experiences like Pokemon Go. In fact, something like 90% of the content on emerging augmented reality platforms is made using the Unity engine. They're consistently investing to expand their platforms to cater to industries like architecture and engineering, 3D designs, automotive designs, 3D film, and animation creation. Unity's platform is used by 8 out of the top 10 architecture, engineering, and design companies in the world, as well as 9 out of the top 10 automotive companies like Honda, Volvo, and BMW. Think about real estate applications where you want to place furniture in a home to stage a virtual walkthrough and can rearrange the house in an infinite number of ways with the push of a button, or even randomize the layout of a house altogether. Now imagine doing this valuable design work for digital assets that people want to own and interact with in the metaverse, not just in the physical world. That's the very long-term idea that companies like Nvidia and Unity Software are building towards, and why they're core holdings in this metaverse fund. Another thing we can look at is what changed in the fund when it was rebalanced. The gray bars show Meta's weights before rebalancing, and the blue bars show them after. Each bar for each holding is labeled with its change in weight, and the bars that are only blue are new additions to the fund. The positions are sorted the same way as before, with the current biggest holdings on the left. So, Nvidia is still the first biggest position in the fund, even though its weight was dropped from almost 11% back down to just over 8%. This big sellout of Nvidia has nothing to do with Nvidia. One of the rules of the Meta Index Fund is that no position can be more than 8% of the fund by weight. Thank you to Matthew Ball himself for pointing that out to me on Twitter. That was pretty cool. Meta Platforms is now the second biggest holding after its weight was also increased to 8%. The biggest weight increases inside this fund should give us an updated view on which companies and categories that Matthew Ball and his Jedi Council think have the greatest impact on the metaverse today. The biggest increases in weight belong to Meta Platforms, Unity Software, Snapchat, C Limited, and Advanced Micro Devices, or AMD. Most of these companies have a lot going on besides video games, if they're directly involved with video games at all. And finally, here are all of the weight changes when the fund got rebalanced in order from biggest to smallest. Meta, Unity, Snapchat, C, and AMD are all at the top of the list. Krafton, Galaxy Digital, and Naver are all new holdings inside the fund, making them big additions as well. Of those, Krafton is the only one focused purely on video games. If you want your own copy of this data, I've put it all together in one convenient Twitter thread for you. I strongly believe that Twitter is a great place to connect with investors and exchange ideas and research, so I'm going to be a lot more active on it. I'll leave a link to my Twitter thread on the Metaverse Funds Rebalancing in the top right-hand corner of your screen right now, and in the description below as well. No matter how you slice it, there's a lot more to the Metaverse than David Friedberg thinks, and this is one piece of data that proves it. I'm curious to hear what you think. Comment below or tweet me at tickersymbol with your thoughts on the Metaverse, the stocks inside this fund, and using investing research and data to learn about trends in technology. Is this a good way to follow the money when it comes to growth stocks and technology trends, or am I connecting the wrong pieces of the puzzle here? Seriously, I read all my comments and tweets, and I'm excited to hear your thoughts. I have a feeling that 2022 is going to be a crazy year. So, stay long, stay strong, and thanks for watching. Until next time, this is Ticker Symbol U. My name is Alex, reminding you that the best investment you can make is in you.